Hey guys, welcome to Boston Bannerbound. So let's discuss what the fuck just happened in the last three games of the ALCS against the fucking Houston Astros. So, fortunately and unfortunately, I was at all three home games, and it was like the highest of high for game three. Two grand slams in the first two innings. It was heaven. And then, not quite sure how the wheels fell off, but the Red Sox then just decided that they weren't going to score anymore for the next three games. And there's a lot to unpack here. So, first, the highs. It was awesome to go to the wild card game, see them kill the Yankees. It was great to see them beat the Rays. However, it was a love-hate with the roller coaster ride of the ALCS against the Houston Astros. So game three, which was game one at Fenway, was epic, amazing. Couldn't stop scoring runs if you paid them. It was literally so electric at Fenway. It was just amazing. I would literally pay to just live there and in that energy and in that atmosphere 24/7. So I'm like, yeah, let's go to game two. Let's go, or game four. Let's go to game five. AKA game two at home is what I meant. So I went to all three home games and then just got my heart broken back to back to back. And then I'm sitting there watching them play in Houston, heartbroken again, because it's like, come on, guys. Like, you had to win that one. It was win or go home, and they lost. My biggest issue, besides them literally just not scoring runs and going back on their bullshit and leaving people on base and swinging at balls in the dirt and just like acting as if they've never played baseball before in their lives. My biggest issue, I think, when I look back and reflect, was fucking Alvarez. Why on earth would you pitch to that man? And I get it, like, you can't just intentionally walk someone every single at bat, but it's situational. If you see that he's 2 for 2 with a home run and that's why you're losing this game right now, why wouldn't you have walked him? Especially with two outs. And then you have Correa up with who was 0 for 2 with two strikeouts against Sale. It's like, why wouldn't you have walked him? And Cora was like, nope, wouldn't have walked him. He just left the ball up and he misfired and that's what happened. And I'm like, okay, but like, no, like, oh, like, come on. And then moving forward, the next couple of games, it's like, it's very situational. If you see that there are runners on, and Alvarez has literally been like 8 for 8 with a zillion home runs and a million RBIs, why not just walk him? Just put him on the fucking base, because clearly he's on it. Clearly he's on one, and clearly he's a hitting machine. So why wouldn't you just try and shut the hitting machine down? I don't get it. But yet you fueled it, you kept feeding the hitting machine, and that is why ultimately you lost. And this dude better get MVP, or else I don't know what else to say, because he literally single-handedly helped the Astros win those games, in my opinion. Also, he came out of nowhere, like, had no idea who this man was, and all of a sudden, he literally single-handedly beat the Red Sox. So there's that. Pretty depressing. Not going to go on and on about it. But that was my major takeaway, was besides the fact that the Red Sox just forgot how to swing a bat correctly and then had no plate discipline and were swinging at balls in the dirt and couldn't just understand that stringing singles along or even taking a walk puts a person on base. But again, that's half the battle. You put a person on base, you need to bring them home. You can't just leave them on base. And that was like a reoccurring issue, that they would just strand people on base. So that's another like red flag there, that they need to finish what they start. They can't just leave people in scoring position with no outs. Like back in the day, they were leaving bases loaded, no outs. You were just leaving them there? Like, come on. Like, I get it. They're a young team. They're very eager to score runs, but doesn't mean you need to kill the ball every time you're at bat. Doesn't mean you need to swing for the fences every time you're at bat. Be smart. Be situational. Small ball. That's my favorite. Literally, when Christian Arroyo, he clearly was struggling hitting, right? So finally, after like 10 at-bats, Cora was like, bunt. You're going to bunt that guy to second. And he actually almost beat out the bunt. It was a really good bunt. But I'm not just saying you always have to, like, when I say small ball, I don't just mean, okay, bunt for a hit or whatever. It's also situational. So if they have a shift on and there's legitimately no one at third base, drag it there, or just stick your bat out and hit the ball to third base. Could be hard, could be soft, could be whatever. You're going to get on because no one's covering at all. That's also the like death of the shift. It's either like it's live and die by the shift, right? So you can plan that, oh, this hitter only hits to the left or only hits to the right. So we're going to shift our entire team so that this whole side of the field is wide open. So, odds say he's not really going to hit that way. And if he does, then shame on us for going with the shift mentality. So it's just kind of like a game of chess. You need to be strategic. And I feel like there weren't a lot of risks being taken as much as they should have been. Like stealing bases, yeah, that's cool. That is a calculated risk. But I'd rather you play some small ball. Like, I've been very successful in my own career with small ball. 2 outs, I'm bunting. 2 strikes, I'm bunting. Like, I'm going to surprise my defense or their defense with my offense, and you're not going to know what I'm going to do. And that's also how you get on base a lot of the times is, it's a game of hits and errors. So it could be a mental error. It could be, they didn't see it coming that, this much of the field is free for me to place a ball there. So that's what I'm going to do. It's just very strategic, and we were outmatched and strategized by the Houston Astros. They are very good at what they do. Cheaters or not, whatever you want to say about the Astros. They got it done and they beat us, and that it is what it is. Like, as much as we all hate Altuve, he is fast. He's also probably 4 feet tall, but he is so fast and he's smart. The fact that he literally, when I tell you, it was barely an overthrow, like barely, like they were checking him at first, right? The ball like barely moved to the dude's right, and he took off for a second. And then he even got to third. It's like, that's just smart base running. That's just strategy. That's using your strengths. He's very fast. He's very smart. He gets them to throw the ball. And once you throw that ball, there's a chance of an error and an overthrow. And he banked on that. And he got to third. And it's just like, now he's in scoring position. So I just wish, going forward, I love Alex Cora. I trust in Alex Cora, and Cora we trust. I think he is a great manager. And I will say, Twitter's really difficult for like going back in time and like trying to like see your like your past tweets from a year or so or 5 years back or whatever. So Twitter's really hard to like fact check yourself. But I knew for a fact that when back, obviously like the whole like unfortunate situation where Cora had to be suspended from baseball for a year, I knew that when we used the words, and I mean the Red Sox, used the term mutually parted ways, I knew that when they used those words that they left the door open for him to get rehired as the Boston Red Sox manager. They use that term because if you say, okay, the Red Sox fired Alex Cora due to his suspension, it leaves a lot of, red flags, and it also leaves them to say, he's a bad look, we're not going to rehire someone that we fired. So they use the term mutually parted ways. That left the door open for him to be rehired after he filled his sentence. Is that the word that I'm trying to say? He paid his sentence for the, ironically, his issues with the Houston Astros and the cheating scandal. So the fact that the Red Sox hired him back was literally like the best thing they could have ever done, because he has been their best coach to date. Like, he knows the ball club, he knows the guys, they respect him. He's one of them. He used to be a Boston Red Sox. So I just am really glad that they took him back. The team wasn't the same without him. They're going to do big things. They've already done big things with Cora. They already, had over 100 wins in a season, and they won the World Series, and they've done all these things with Cora already. And the future's really bright, and I see them going really far. Just unfortunately, the wheels fell off a little bit after the All-Star break. I'm not quite sure what happened. They got into a really big slump, and it wasn't just one player. It was pretty much all of them. They all slumped, and then obviously we hate to speak about COVID, but COVID took 12 players out at one time. And it's not like when you're playing football where it's once a week they're playing a game. Baseball is every day. They maybe have one game off a month. That's like a day off. So when you're having to be quarantined or sidelined for a week, 2 weeks, that's 7 to 12 to 14 games that they're missing. So that's a huge, huge issue. And if you're like dropping 14 games in a row, going on a 10-game losing streak, you're going to drop in the standings. And unfortunately, that's what happened to them. Luckily, they got their shit together. They were, started from the bottom back up, and they took out the Yankees, took out the Rays, just kind of ran out of gas and couldn't knock off the Astros. Also, the pitching issues are, again, I feel like I've been saying this same thing for years now. We really struggle with pitching, and I'm not going to place all the blame on pitching and our pitching staff, because if you don't score runs, you're not going to win a game. And it's kind of crazy that, everyone thinks, oh, baseball's boring, this, that, the other thing, but it's like, when's the last time you felt uncomfortable with a 5-run lead? Like, you didn't think that 5 runs was enough to win a game? Like, no, unheard of. 10 years ago, if you had 5 runs, you were winning that game no matter what. Now, there's so much more action, there's so much more excitement, and there's so much more uncertainty that you don't even know. Like, is 9 runs enough? Is 12 runs enough? You don't even know. So that's pretty exciting. I like that, the baseball world is evolving. But I will take robot umps, or if you're trying to say you don't approve or agree with robot umps, then I would say that I at least, like in soccer, the VAR, I know people hate VAR, but I would like something like that where, or at least more coaches' challenges. I believe that baseball, you're only allowed 1 challenge. I think it should be the same as basketball, where you're allowed 1, and then if you win that challenge, you get another challenge, because there are just so many like atrocious like strike and ball calls that like really can change the outcome of a game like significantly, and everyone's seen it. And I believe that if someone really wants to argue something to death, they should be able to challenge that, and they should be able to video review it. And if they make their case and it's blatant to everyone, blatant to the fans, blatant to the teams, they should be able to overturn a call. Or if the call didn't go their way, be able to make an argument for the call to go the way that they wanted it to go. So I think they need to look into that. I think what they tried out in minor leagues, the idea of like a pitch clock, or the idea of, kind of rushing pitchers through their pitching, that needs to also happen, because the time in between pitches is way too long. So that also makes the game way too long. So they need to address those issues, I believe, in the offseason or going forward, just to improve MLB and to improve baseball as a whole, to get like more fans to watch and to stay committed through the 192-game season. True fans obviously will love it no matter what, but I think those improvements will definitely help, not hinder, the organization going forward. So last thing on the Red Sox, no one expected them to go as far as they did. I believe that 1 through 9, for the most part, they had a stacked batting order. Pitching was lacking. They need to really figure that out in the pitching department. That's kind of like my only glaring issue that I see, besides their third base coach, who I think needs to be fired instead of the first base coach. They fired the first base coach today. I think they should have fired the third base coach as well, but that's just me just seeing the game how I see it. And, obviously everyone has a different mentality on, aggressiveness and taking risks and all that. But again, it's also baseball 101. Like, a lot of things were lacking fundamentally: base running errors, fielding errors, all that. So they just kind of need to also get back to basics. I know that it is a really strategic sport and an intricate sport, but they also need to know that you should field a ball in front of your body. You should be catching a pop fly in front of your body, not to the side of your body, and just all that stuff. Reading a ball off the bat better. Not making that extra throw that you don't need to make. If you bobbled it, don't throw it. If you had to make a diving catch to save it from going into the outfield, and if you are rushing your throw, you're going to overthrow it, and then they're going to take an extra base, which you don't want, and which has also prevented you from, you shouldn't have even dove for the ball, because it would have been a double if you just let it go into the outfield. But then you make that extra throw, and okay, they're on second because of your overthrow. So now it's an error and an extra base, and they're at the same spot that you tried to prevent by making that diving play. So it's just, situational stuff. It's kind of stuff that you learn as you go. It's very instinctual, so they need to just work on the basics as well. So that's all I got for the ALCS. Good luck to the Braves. I really hope that the Braves win it. It would be nice for them to win something. And we will see you in March for the Red Sox. I can't wait. Thanks, guys. This was Boston Bannerbound with Bree DiNucci.